Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5, President Trump's on his way to California this morning, ready to meet with the governor and fire crews as millions along the West Coast struggle to catch their breath amidst historic wildfires.
And the latest on the search for the shooter who ambushed 2 LA deputies over the weekend, sparking disturbing protests outside a hospital and a call for unity.
Preparing our county for another wave of coronavirus. The U.S. Surgeon General will meet with local officials today to talk about coronavirus concerns for Kern. More on his visit coming up on this Monday, September 14th, 2020. Good morning. It is 5 a.m. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. And we begin this morning with the latest on those historic wildfires burning up and down the West Coast.
Now, 4 of the top 10 largest wildfires in our state's history continues to burn right now. President Trump is set to arrive in Sacramento this morning for a briefing on these fires. NBC's Jennifer Bjorklund has more.
The president this morning is expected to meet with local and federal emergency and fire officials at the base for CAL FIRE operations in Sacramento while fires continue to burn all around.
Evacuees in the fire-ravaged western states have a harder time making it to safety the longer they wait.
I was just paralyzed. I didn't really realize it was happening.
There are weakened trees, there's electrical wires down, there might be damaged structures out there, and things that can be hazardous to the general public.
The fires in Oregon already have consumed more than 800,000 acres and forced 500,000 people out of their homes. One of them, 11-year-old Dominic Flukas.
Well, I was feeling sad and scared at the moment because I knew that we were going to most likely lose our home.
And with little time to prepare to go, they lost everything they owned as well. And farther north, more than 600,000 acres have burned in Washington state. And to the south, 3.3 million acres and counting in California. It's an area larger than the state of Connecticut burned. Behind the fire lines, crews are working with lists of missing people and looking for remains in burned out communities and along escape routes, and sometimes finding the unexpected. Like this puppy in a burned out house in Butte County, whose name is now Trooper.
Today could be crucial. We've had a break the last few days with cooler, breezy weather, but we are expecting a return of the critical fire conditions today, and that could test fire lines, especially here at the North Complex fire, which already has claimed 14 lives. In Chico, Jennifer Bjorklund, 17 News.
Meantime, the largest fire in California's history is still raging on federal land north of Sacramento. The August Complex fire in Mendocino National Forest has now burned more than 877,000 acres. That's about 9 times larger than the city of Bakersfield. It's 28% contained as of this morning. The August Complex fire is a combination of 37 different fires sparked by lightning in Mendocino National Forest August 17th.
And the Creek Fire burning east of Fresno has now burned more than 200,000 acres. It is about 10% contained this morning. Officials say 21 people have been injured in this fire, with 365 structures destroyed. Yeah, and unfortunately, we continue to see the smoke that is making our air quality absolutely terrible and unhealthy for all of us here in Kern County. But of course, all of this comes after not too bad of a weekend, at least on Saturday, right, Kev?
Yeah, wind shifted a little bit over the weekend. Even yesterday morning, the air quality wasn't as bad, but as we progressed into the afternoon, we started to see those air quality numbers change a little bit, and that's what we're looking at this morning. We still have that air quality alert in place for all of Kern County, so that haze is going to continue. And I want to show you visibilities around the state right now. Bakersfield at 5 miles. We've got a mile visibility in Fresno, 2 miles visibility in San Francisco, 3 in Sacramento. And then as we travel into Oregon, where they're battling fires there, Medford, Oregon at 1 mile visibility. So you can see how the smoke is still plaguing the state heavily. And Bakersfield with an AQI at 156 right now. That is unhealthy. Up near Lake Isabella, unhealthy for sensitive groups, an AQI at 123, and we've got 136 out in Mojave. So air quality definitely not in our favor right now. 71 degrees in east-southeast southeast wind at 3 miles per hour. Temperatures throughout the day will be in the mid-90s. We'll have to see how thick the smoke gets because that really does play on our temperatures. And then for the mountains, 50 degrees in Tehachapi, southeast wind at 5 right now. And here's a look at the temperatures this afternoon, expecting the mid-80s, and then by 5 o'clock right near 84. I've got much more in your forecast. That's coming up in just a bit.
All right, Kev, thanks so much. 2 deputies in Los Angeles were shot in what officials are calling an ambush-style attack. Both are in the hospital and continue to recover this morning. And now there's a call for unity from community members.
Are we going to end up in a race riot? Are we just going to end up in a all-out brawl in the United States where everybody's shooting everybody? That's not the answer.
Patrick Lyons, a pastor at Faith International and former sheriff's deputy, says the answer between law enforcement and the community will be found in dialogue, not more violence. Authorities say the deputies are fighting for their lives at St. Francis Medical Center in Los Angeles. One is a 31-year-old mother with a 6-year-old son. She has major wounds after taking a gunshot wound to the jaw, but remains stable. The other deputy has a bullet wound on his forehead, arms, and hands. Officials say the 2 underwent surgery and are expected to survive. The shooter is still at large, and there's a $100,000 reward for their arrest and conviction.
5:06 is your time now. In your 17 court watch, a man accused of stabbing 2 men and killing one of them during a fight last month is due in court today. This all happened August 21st at a house on Moose Street. Deputies found 2 men with multiple stab wounds. One of them, Danny Barham, died. Alan Oakes has pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder, among other charges. According to court documents, Oakes says he believed the 2 men were intent on kidnapping him and he acted in self-defense. But Oakes' girlfriend told sheriff's investigators she and Oakes had been arguing when the 2 men tried to intervene. That's when she says he pulled a knife on her and grabbed her in a headlock to stop her from leaving. She says after a fight, he stabbed the 2 men and took off. A man arrested for a shooting at a motel in southwest Bakersfield is also due in court today. Police responded to the shooting just before 10 a.m. Thursday at the Motel 6 on Easton Drive. BPD says 31-year-old James McGill had opened fire and fled inside the motel. BPD says McGill escaped before the SWAT team arrived, but was arrested later about 2 miles away on Buck Owens and Riverside Drive. BPD says they found a victim, but no one was shot. Investigators believe this may have been a domestic situation.
A DUI checkpoint in northwest Bakersfield led to a police chase after a driver took off. The search for that driver is still on this morning. It happened Saturday night. Police say the suspect blew through the checkpoint, refusing to stop. The driver then led officers on a chase to the area of Brimhall and Renfro Roads, where he lost control and crashed into a street sign. The driver ran off, leaving an injured 16-year-old passenger in the car. That teen was not seriously hurt. If you know where the driver is or have any other information, you're asked to call police at 327-7111. 5 drivers were arrested and more than 50 cited as part of that DUI checkpoint. And police continue to crack down on street racing in Bakersfield. BPD says its street racing enforcement operation on Saturday night and Sunday morning ended with 6 vehicles impounded and 10 citations issued. No arrests were made.
5:08 now, and on to the latest on the coronavirus numbers here in Kern County as the death toll continues to rise. Public health officials announced 6 new deaths yesterday. That means we now know of 10 people who've died this month from coronavirus. August was Kern's deadliest month with 120 lives lost to the virus. 332 people have died since the pandemic began here in Kern. Meantime, 113 new cases of COVID-19 were announced yesterday. Daily cases have not been this low since late May and early June. Nearly 13,000 people have an active case of the virus and are recovering at home. 149 are being treated in local hospitals. The United States Surgeon General is expected to visit Kern County today for a roundtable with local officials to talk about coronavirus. Jerome Adams will join Kern County Chief Administrative Officer Ryan Alsop and the Director of Public Health Matt Constantine for a discussion with the local health industry, as well as business, education, community leaders. Legislative leaders will also be there, including Congressman Kevin McCarthy, Senator Shannon Grove, Mayor Karen Go, and Kern County supervisors.
Police have arrested a man for the vandalization of City Hall. Police say the man is accused of breaking windows at the front of the building in downtown Bakersfield. Officers found and arrested the suspect just a few blocks away. He faces vandalism charges. Police have not released a motive for breaking those windows.
Welcome back. It's 5:19 now. A group of local Army recruits are off to boot camp, and they got a supportive send-off from friends, family, and a group of local motorcyclists known for their dedication to new recruits. 17's Perla Shaheen has more.
Motorcyclists in 4 different groups come to show their respect and ride alongside the recruits for part of their drive to camp. U.S. Army veteran Ben Patton came up with this idea 14 years ago and has done it every week since then.
I actually found it as a favor to a friend, and then the week after we did the very first one, the Marine Corps actually called me and said, hey, that was pretty cool. You want to do it again?
Ben gave a short speech before all the riders lined up and shook hands with the 16 people leaving. They'll be at camp for around 13 weeks and will later go deeper into training. There were many tearful goodbyes as the recruits entered the van that would take them away.
These young men and women, while they won't admit it, they're scared to death. Their moms and dads, they're scared to death. So what we try to do is bring a little bit of levity to a very, very stressful day. I was scared to death when I sent my kids off. So what we want to do is we want to show these parents that it's okay. And this community loves them and appreciates them.
All the riders revved their engines and followed shortly behind the van as it left the parking lot. They would follow it for a few miles before waving goodbye and hanging out for a while on the side of the road. Bill Pitcher is a part of the Armed Forces Support Riders Group. He says his whole family was in the Army, and he's glad to give the recruits the send-off they deserve.
A lot of our riders are like Vietnam vets. The way they were treated when they come back was just terrible. So, you know, they get to see this, and they see how the world's changed, and it kind of makes them proud, too.
The support riders also come to other events to honor all men and women involved in military service. Ben encourages all family and friends to write letters to the recruits. He says it's something they'll look forward to in the upcoming weeks. For 17 News, I'm Perla Shaheen.
Meantime, here's a fun way for you to support our troops. No motorcycle required. Though that's not out of the question, you can head to Stranded at the Drive-In. It's being held this Friday, and it raises money for the Wounded Heroes Fund. This week, they're going to be playing the movie Days of Thunder on Friday night at 7:30 in West Bakersfield. They're also offering live music to start the night off, and food trucks will be on site. Tickets are $15 per person. Kids 5 and under get in free. In the past, they have sold out these events. They played Grease in the past. I think this is the third one they've done, and they have more planned because they're super popular.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back to your 17 Business Watch. A new survey finds working from home alongside kids learning from home is not working well for a lot of people. More than 40% of parents say they have either reduced their hours or stopped work completely to help educate their children from home. That's according to a new survey conducted by homeschoolexpert.com. Of that group, nearly a third say they've cut their work hours by half or more. 16% have stopped working altogether. If you're in the market for a new car, you may want to start checking out a new-to-you vehicle. Experts say the coronavirus pandemic has led to some great deals in the pre-owned market. NBC's Susan McGinnis tells us why.
If you're in the market for a car, you may want to check the stickers on used or pre-owned vehicles.
Used cars definitely show a lot of value.
Experts say the coronavirus pandemic hit the auto industry hard. As factories shut down, new car inventories dried up.
These are dire straits. I mean, people are really looking at, what's out there in the market. And for the dealers, they're going to auctions to buy used cars.
The economic downturn sending cash-strapped buyers to more affordable used cars. Dealers seeing used vehicles that sat idle before the pandemic quickly driving off their lots. More buyers are also kicking the tires virtually. Research shows 60% of car buyers doing their research and buying cars online. Ernie Garcia is CEO of Carvana, which sells only used cars and exclusively online.
Because we sell cars online, we're able to sell them at lower prices.
Garcia says he's noticed the pandemic bringing in buyers nervous about taking trains, buses, and subways.
There are people who just used public transport before, and now they're kind of shifting to owning their own car.
The trend also means the car you have sitting in your driveway could put extra cash in your wallet. Truck owners are said to be in an especially good position to cash in, with top values going to the Toyota Tacoma, the Ford F-350, and the Jeep Wrangler. But there's a speed bump. Experts say stronger demand for used cars and new car production ramping back up means today's deals may not last long. Susan McGinnis, NBC News, Washington.
17 News is your local election headquarters, and President Trump held a large indoor rally in Nevada last night, despite the state's ban on meetings of more than 50 people. Tracy Potts shows us what happened inside that rally, plus the latest fallout from the new book claiming President Trump knew a lot more about coronavirus than he told the public.
Good morning. Let's start with that rally last night where the president violated Nevada's ban on holding gatherings of more than 50 people. Nevada's governor called it reckless, selfish, irresponsible, putting countless lives in danger. President Trump before a large indoor crowd in Nevada last night with little social distancing and few masks, calling on Joe Biden to take a drug test before their first debate this month.
Because we don't want to have a situation like we could have with this guy.
The president did not talk about his 18 interviews for Bob Woodward's new book, Rage. Woodward's on the Today Show this morning. He told 60 Minutes President Trump admitted downplaying the dangers of coronavirus to the public.
When there's a crisis, when the president particularly knows something, it's time to tell the public in some form. He failed.
He is more concerned with protecting himself than protecting the American people.
The head of the Republican Party defending their nominee.
What would it mean if the president came out and said the sky is falling and everybody should be panicked? He presented calm and a steady hand and a plan, and that is what a president should do.
Drug companies and medical experts say while we may know next month if a vaccine works, it'll be early to mid next year before it's widely available. Also on the campaign trail today, Joe Biden is giving a speech on climate change, dealing with those fires out west. I'm Tracy Potts, 17 News.
Meantime, in San Francisco, a potential major change to voting rights. The city is considering a proposition that would allow 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in local elections there. A similar proposal was made in 2016, but 52% of voters said no, blocking that law. Some experts think this time it will be different. If it passes, San Francisco will be the first major city to allow minors to vote. Some smaller cities like Tacoma Park, Maryland, have already done it. The issue hasn't gotten a lot of attention on a national level, but some lawmakers like House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Texas Representative Michael Burgess thinks it's a good idea. San Francisco will vote on the issue in November.
Police are looking for a driver whose car crashed with a motorcycle, sending 2 people into the road and then took off. It happened Saturday night around 10:30 at the intersection of Gosford Road and South Laurel Glen Boulevard, just east of Hagen Oaks. The Bakersfield Police Department says when officers arrived, they found a man and a woman in the road. Both were taken to the hospital. The man described as having moderate to major injuries and in critical condition. The woman described as having moderate injuries and stable. Police say the driver of the vehicle that hit them, along with 2 others in the car, fled the scene. A witness told police the passengers got into another vehicle nearby. The driver of that vehicle is still at large. Police say alcohol is believed to be a factor in the crash. Anyone with information is asked to call BPD at 327-7111. And now to several road work projects that could affect your commute. Expect some nighttime closures along California Avenue as crews work on the eastbound Centennial Corridor Bridge. It's happening on California Avenue between Morella Way and Easton Drive from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. The work is scheduled to continue tomorrow night from 9 p.m. to Wednesday morning at 2 as well. Both directions of traffic will be affected. Drivers are encouraged to use Stockdale Highway or Truxtun Avenue instead. Meantime, contractors are putting road stripes on the 24th Street corridor every night from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. until Thursday. Lanes will close on 23rd Street and 24th Street between the Kern River Bridge and Highway 178. At least one lane will be open on each road. Also, watch for daytime lane closures between Oak and B Streets and Bay Street. Those will continue on weekdays from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. for the rest of the month. Motorists are advised to avoid these roads and expect longer trips, but the good news, at least one lane will stay open.
With around 40% of American employees now working from home, that's putting mass transit companies in a bit of a pickle, including Bakersfield's Get Bus. Get Management says they're carefully tracking workplace economics, lifestyle trends, and consumer habits. tracking the demand as it changes. Kern King, Chief Executive Officer of GET, says the landscape for public transit was already changing. The pandemic just sped things up.
We had a 20-year plan that included expanding fixed route bus service and implementing some bus rapid transit and hopefully getting some bus-only lanes and a number of things like that. But this whole pandemic thing has really caused us to pivot and rethink that.
One thing in the works, microtransit, an on-call van service called Ride that'll drop customers curb to curb for just $3.50 per person. For now, it's available only in portions of Southwest Bakersfield. Another possibility is adding zero-emission buses. To do that, GET must build charging stations to service those new buses. But GET headquarters will soon be moving because it's in the path of the new high-speed rail project.
I'm hoping we can get a new facility built within the next 5 years because we have to start buying zero-emission buses, and that means we have to make modifications to the facility for fueling. And our board is hesitant to invest that in our existing location.
Other trends expected in the next few years include contactless fares and autonomous public transit vehicles. Another idea, down in Los Angeles, transit groups are discussing the possibility of making the LA Metro bus and rail system completely free. And with poor quality air quality continuing, GET is offering free rides for local residents once again today. You can ride the GET fixed routes and the Get a Lift all day, free of charge. Funding for these free rides comes from the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Grant. Welcome back on this Monday morning. It is 5:49, and in education news, the COVID-19 pandemic has changed plans for the annual Kern County College Night, and tonight the event will be held entirely virtual. And as 17's Taylor Schaub explains, there's still time for you to sign up and start college application season off on a good note. Taylor?
Well, good morning, Alex. For 20 years, high school seniors from around the Golden Empire have gathered at the Kern County College Night as they begin the grueling journey that is applying to college. But in a year that has turned the education world on its head, educators say this virtual event may be the most important one they've ever hosted. It's the question every high schooler's been asked since the moment freshman year started. What college do you envision yourself at 4 years from now?
The school you dream of may not be the school that's perfect for you.
Joanne Barrick is a guidance counselor for the Kern High School District. For years, she's helped put together Kern County College Night, regularly packing in 10,000 people in over 100 colleges at Mechanics Bank Arena. But due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the in-person affair is now a virtual affair, with pre-recorded information sessions now available through Canvas.
Those things we won't have live in front of you, but we will have the opportunity for people to see a lot of things.
One of the hardest parts of this year's application process, the inability to see these universities. So organizers have worked tirelessly with schools that would normally attend to acquire their virtual campus tours.
We've received virtual tours from everywhere, like every school, all the CSUs, the UC schools, they all have virtual tours available.
Barrick also says there's a silver lining to come out of applying for college amidst a pandemic, an increase in scholarship opportunities.
If you want it to pay off for your freshman year of college, sophomore and junior, senior year, put that time in during senior year on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, a half hour to an hour. You could fund your entire college career.
Another plus to going virtual, she says she's able to book double the amount of guest speakers, increasing the number of Spanish language options and providing as much insight into the schools that these Kern County seniors may call home for the next 4 years. And Maddie and Alex, the college application season begins on October 1st, ends on November 30th. And if you're interested in learning more about tonight's event or how to register, you can go to our website, kget.com, and click on the hot link icon. In Southwest Bakersfield, Taylor Schaub, 17 News.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group.
For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.